We're going to look at 3 different replays at 3 different MMRs of people playing Storm Spirit. This first one is Herald 7, and then we'll be looking at a Legend player, and finally an Immortal. So straight away he tried to block his creeps, it doesn't really do much, but what's interesting here is how he uses Remnant. It doesn't really effectively do much, he doesn't harass either, but one of the bigger mistakes that he makes straight away is that he doesn't check Kunkka's relatively stupid items. This Orb of Venom isn't very good, but the fact that you walk straight up into his right clicks ends up taking damage from it, and he took advantage of being on level 2. Well, he could have taken advantage of level 2 and skilled his overload. So he flies out courier, gets a bottle here, and he's not very effective with his mana in this lane at all. But you end up seeing here how he has 2 range creeps here. Kunkka should be trying to deny both of those right now, because it's hard for Storm to contest it without him taking health damage. But you'll end up seeing Kunkka tries to deny one of them, but not very good at denying. It ends up being really easy for Storm to get those last hits. He didn't even have to right click him, he just used the Remnant. But here as well, Storm is denying the range creep. That's really good. And you end up seeing that these are pretty small things, but his last hitting lane is just much better than this Kunkka. So here's Kunkka's level 6. And he reached level 6 just after Storm, but he misses his combo. Storm also can't really take advantage of being his level 6 because he has very little mana, and he's been pretty much using his mana all the time. And even scenarios like this where his range creep is left on low health, this Kunkka is not going to exploit it at any point, but you end up seeing the Storm himself denies the range creep, but he doesn't, he misses his own last hit there. But the one thing that he did really well was that he didn't take much harass in lane at all. He's going in on Kunkka now with the Arcane Rune, and he gets combo, and Kunkka goes back. So Spirit Breaker is here to help. Maybe he predicted that ahead of time, but Storm he's wasting loads of mana, and he would pretty much be better off to stay in lane at that point and just last that creep wave, because he can go back and well, the 2 shrines are used at this point, but if he was smarter with his mana usage, he could wasting his mana in scenarios like this. He's literally doing the same thing he made a mistake on literally 90 seconds ago. This time at least he dodges the boat, but understanding the AoE of the boat, if he zipped a smaller distance, this is something about understanding the other heroes in the game and how to exploit their weaknesses. So if he can zip just the minimum distance to be able to dodge boat, that would be way better. So now there's some random stuff happening. CK's mid and a sniper ganking the Storm, and Storm's just going back in, zipping around, and again wasting all of his mana, and he has no mana to escape now, yet he's just walking away. Wow, look at that speed on this guy. He just walked away from Kunkka. Kunkka used all his spells wrong again. What you guess from a Herald player, that especially when something like Kunkka and he doesn't practice his skills in demo mode. You end up seeing as well Storm doesn't very effectively use his combos throughout in fights either. And he's already his 3rd trip back to the fountain here at 12 minutes into the game, and he teleports bottom. He's walking down the lane here, he gets a rune, and during that time he could have easily been farming a camp. He could have went to the shrines. There's one shrine just back in place now, but stuff as well now where right now he's pretty much wasted the past minute to 2 minutes literally doing nothing. He's barely even in experience range. He ends up helping Pudge get a kill on Sniper here, jumping in on Kunkka. He uses a regen rune. He could have easily got caught out there if Kunkka was a good player. Obviously he's not that good, and you can see from earlier on ends up getting a kill, but it's mostly because of this Pudge making plays. And you end up seeing 41 last hits now. He's pretty good on kills, and overall he's number 2 on net worth, so that's really good at this point into the game for a Herald player. Typically this 4.6k net worth is what you'd be looking at maybe 10 to 12 minutes is what is more realistic for players at other brackets. And here he doesn't really understand break. That's Nether Toxin breaks him in here, so he isn't getting any of these overload charges, and ends up getting hit by boat again because he didn't know the AoE. Gets killed by Viper. Oh, the turnaround. So now he's finally going farming again, and he needs to do a little bit more of this during the game. He zips away from CK. Earthshaker goes back in. Storm is coming to join him. The boat, he walks into the boat. This is like literally his death wish. The boat is just wrecking him this game all the time. He keeps walking into it or trying to zip away. Like, it's literally one of his like biggest downfalls throughout this game. Now, Storm Spirit, is he going to jump onto the sniper? He's going to try a big zip here. Oh, he gets the sniper chain stunned here. No. There we go. Some right clicks down. It's always someone like Pudge or Spirit Breaker that's finding the sniper. Oh, he goes in. He's braked here again. And here he tries to zip to dodge the stun. You end up seeing that he was a little bit too slow on that. He ends up getting X here by Kunkka. Kunkka misses the X torrent, but now Storm doesn't have any mana, so he can't zip away. The boat ends up hitting him. Now, Storm, like these really small little things can sometimes make the difference between like a good Storm player and like a really bad one. And now he's coming top to gank the Techies and Viper. He walks into a mine. He has no mana left because he pretty much zips long distances, not really understanding why he's doing. Now, where this has ended up being really good, watch what Viper's doing. He's chasing after Storm to get the kill. Now, the fact that Storm is chasing it, running away with low health, Lycan is getting a bunch of free attacks in without taking any harass back. Now, Storm should have kept running there. He might have even been able to escape, but the fact that Lycan takes no harass, those sort of things are really impactful in like team fights especially. Now, that wasn't like really a team fight, but in a team fight, if you can get someone to overextend and not do damage to other players, pretty much Viper was not outputting any damage during that time that he was chasing Storm on low health. Now we have a team fight that's going on here. CK used his ulti. Earthshaker came in with a big echo here. Now Storm zips into the boat. What the hell? What? So now it's 25 minutes into the game and you can see Storm has no progression on his items. He has enough gold now for a Kaya, but he hasn't bought it. But it's kind of weird what he ends up doing. You end up seeing a lot of the time he just walks around a map like this and he's kind of not getting any last hits. He's just constantly looking for kills, but he doesn't understand the importance of like creep kills are. So here he's just like constantly focusing on creep. Techie silences him with an Orchid and does a bunch of damage. He ends up dying to the Orchid damage after that. So Techies has like literally way more farm than this Storm has, which is not really what you want to happen. You end up seeing Storm is level 13 and most of the other heroes that are like pretty big right now are 16, 17. That makes a big difference in the amount of damage you're going to output and how effective you're going to be. Storm with the big zip onto Sniper, and that's really why you should be trying to do a little bit more this game. So Storm is after seeing Sniper here now at this team fight. He tries to go on Sniper, he catches someone else, he finds a Sniper, and this ends up being like really big because the rest of his team end up finding him. And right now Storm is like literally 6k net worth. Like I was saying his net worth at like 15 minutes was good. Like he's literally gained like 2k net worth in about the last 15 minutes. It's really, really bad. And at this 15-minute period, you should probably be gaining the most farm, way more than the first 15 minutes. So now it's getting pretty late into the game. Storm is buying an Orchid now. He buys 2 of the items for the Orchid and he's going to deliver them out to himself. But as you'll see, no one saves for buyback in Herald. Literally no one has the goal for buyback and no one's used their buyback. So it pretty much means that deaths at this point are really crucial. Like they have really long death timers and it ends up being straight away a start of a bad fight here. The Spirit Breaker and Lycan are down. The Storm is X now. Oh no. Oh, Pudge with the 10k hook. He literally turned on his divine player status there. They throw that hook, but it's not enough. Like when you don't save for buyback, it doesn't matter how good your hooks are. He ends up here now. Is he gonna go on Sniper? He does. Sniper used a BKB. Whoa, next level play by Sniper using a BKB. And Storm jumps in too early onto the Sniper there. Sniper still had duration left on his BKB. And again, like mistiming the amount of mana that he currently has. And this Quarter Staff or Oblivion Staff is not really that useful here, as you'll end up seeing. And it would have been better to probably save for buyback and even just be able to zip and kill the creeps at this point. But overall, like the fact that he fell so far behind on levels and gold after the lining stage is pretty much the crucial part that like pulled him down this game. So now we're looking at a Legend 6 Storm Spirit, and this time he's bought a lot of health regen and he's even got a shared tango as well. He placed down Observer Ward at minus 20 seconds on the mid lane and he blocks his creeps really well. He even lets the range creep in front. Now his last scene here ends up being like pretty good. You end up seeing in the first wave he gets like 6 last hits and he got the 2 range creeps as well, so that ends up being like pretty good. and did Ember get like 1 deny in that wave as well, so in first 2 waves. So that ends up being like pretty good start to your lane, and he's already stacking here. So this is like really nice efficiency here. In comparison to what the Herald player, it's just much better. Now he's also trading harass. Now this is something that he really like missed out on lane, where he has vastly better like health regen than Ember Spirit. Ember Spirit now has 55 seconds before he can regen back up. If you keep trading right clicks or just even mana to like harass the Ember, it ends up being like really hard for Ember. He has to buy like a salve and fly it out to himself. But Storm Spirit is never really doing that. Instead, he's like focusing more on the jungle and his own farm, which is not that bad, but you typically want to slow down the enemy mid laner from getting their farm as well at the same time. But you end up seeing that like in this laning stage, he never got pressured by a support at any point. And it was pretty much like a total one-on-one, but it was literally both players stacking and farming their jungle at the same time. But if you look at his network now, he's at the top of the network chart at 11 minutes into the game. This is actually like a pretty good network, seeing as he already died once as well. And Mars getting like a good ulti off here. Ember Spirit comes into the fight. And you end up seeing here now Ember's running away. Now Storm understands if he zips here now, he's going to have no mana to attack this Storm. But he ends up like pretty good, ends up like not playing aggressive there. It would have been a greedy play and he would have died instantly with the Shadow Shaman. Because the supports here like Rubik and Shadow Shaman are both like really strong against Storm. Because they both have like instant disables. You have Hex on Shadow Shaman and Rubik's Lift have 0 cast time. And as you see, this brings him constantly on top of the chart. He uses his salve that he bought at the very start of the game here to turn this around. Oh yes, Mars with the teleporting just about survives. Very little in the difference there. Kind of got lucky as well at the same time, but that salve usage was really what like turned that around. The golem is still here, and it's pretty obvious that he's here now, zipping in here kind of like a little bit too aggressively. And as I was saying, that like the supports are really good against Storm here, and he ends up dying like quite quickly. So this is why he needs to be like quite careful of. So Storm's looking for a fight to go in on here now. Mars gets like a good ulti off, and Storm just goes into the fight using his mana constantly, getting a bunch of damage in there, like really nice. Just the fact that he's like involved in fights here. It's obviously like easy for him to get involved in these fights because they're just happening in the mid lane, which is where he like generally is about. He isn't really like the player creating plays either, and as you see there, like he wasn't even needed to really kill that like Shadow Shaman either. It was mostly like what the Mars was doing, and he ends up like getting killed himself for committing to try and get that kill on a support, which he didn't even get the credit for the kill for either. Now currently Storm is level 16, and this Ember Spirit is getting pretty strong. He's level 18. He's the mid hero. Now Storm could have slowed like this Ember Spirit down, and Storm is not necessarily playing bad. He's actually playing pretty good, especially in like this match in particular. He's playing like a little bit above average, I guess, what I would say. But the thing is that Ember Spirit is playing better than him, so that's like pretty problematic, and Storm could have been the one that first off like stopped that from happening. And he's actually playing really cautious here now. He's standing back a bit. The reason why is because Legion Commander is actually really strong right now, and he's even queued up a Lincoln Sphere because he's scared of this Legion, because he knows he can die from it pretty easily. And you end up seeing he farms this wave, only shows in lane for a little bit of time, and he sees there's something fight breaking out potentially here. He's still farming creeps during this time. You see, he could have been farming creeps there, but instead you see Legion use their ultimate. Now that's go time for Storm. Now is when he needs to go and fight. So he zips in here. Is he going to catch anyone? The Mars ult misses as well. Rubik managed to blink out of it. Now here Storm goes and stuns the Rubik. Once the stun ends, he then uses his Orchid. A little bit of weird timing there with the Orchid. So now there's a fight breaking out here. They're going playing aggressive. The enemy have a shrine here. Kind of questionable place to take a fight. The Ember Spirit still has his Flame Guard here. Flame Guard's up. Jumps out. Storm Spirit is here. He got like bashed by the PA. He zips out now, and Storm Spirit has got caught here by the Syrian Chains. So if he zipped in another direction, he probably could have survived there. So PA using her BKB. Ember Spirit died here. And catching this PA using the Orchid onto her. Oh, PA gets away, does she? Oh, they caught her. Nice. Oh, she got away again. Oh, Storm has Aegis here. Ember Spirit has bought back. So this chase has worked out pretty good here. But like Storm is getting caught now. Oh, he's running here. The enemy's chasing him. The Ember Spirit buyback was really good here. and he got caught again. So this Aegis, even though Storm is one of the best heroes in the game to have Aegis, the fact that he doesn't have BKB, he can't really go back into this fight, and he ends up having to just zip back to Shrine here. And I really think that like BKB is a really good item here, but I don't know, I'm not like the great. Yes, he bought an extra energy booster by accident, literally lost like 450 gold by doing that. He doesn't really end up doing it here. Legion Commander buyback instantly when Storm jumps in, and PA too. Both of them have buyback here, really big buybacks, really important at this point. Storm is zipping in, just getting constantly ignored here by Rubik and Shadow Shaman. Shadow Shaman's dead. PA is now dead after buying back. Wow, this ends up being like a pretty big fight here. If they can end up killing the Ember here, they pretty much won. But Storm zips all the way back. So now what Storm should be doing was trying to like stall the creeps, like actually killing the creep waves so that the enemy can't come and push the tower and prevent like backdoor protection, but he never did that. So now here Legion is coming in. He zips away just on time. He silences the Legion now. And the Legion's invisible but tracked at the same time by the bounty hunter. So really nice way of like counter initiating on that like Legion, good reactions and preemptively knowing what's going to happen next. So now I was saying that it's really important to cut the creep waves, but Storm ends up jumping in here like really stupidly and dies instantly. That wasn't even sped up, like he literally died that quick. So he needs to jump like much further than the creep wave to end up killing it, because his remnants keep like falling. But teleporting back to the fountain is also important. He could have ended up dying there with the way that he went in. Now all these heroes got caught in Mars ult, big Warlock ult, and also he got like fatal bonds off, so ends up doing a ton of damage there. Literally Warlock's ultimate like won them that fight. Now PA is after respawning with the Aegis, and Storm is chasing out after Ember, and PA dies very quickly. As you'll see, the fact that Storm is chasing after his Ember, even if they don't get the kill here, which I don't think they will, the fact that Ember is not like counter initiating on this like PA respawning with the Aegis is pretty like important. And PA again like still doesn't have her buyback at this point. She used it earlier. Now they're going high ground. They can pretty much go like for tier 4 here if they go properly, and ends up having like PA has buyback in a few seconds now, and they're just going in playing aggressive here. And this is just about taking advantage of the fact that like PA doesn't have like cooldown on her, like just like a couple of seconds. PA doesn't have the gold for buyback either. Oh no, that's terrible for the Radiant. But the Storm ends up like pretty much going in and getting killed, and that Warlock ultimate like literally won the game. And this game was like really close, and Ember can't really do anything to counter this. But as you end up seeing, like there is like places where this like Storm can improve, but he didn't play like spectacularly. He didn't snowball out of control, and end up seeing that like his impact at the late parts of the game, which is supposed to be like one of the strongest parts of his game, ended up being like not all that good, and his teammates actually did most to carry him here. So now we're looking at an Immortal rank 72 Storm Spirit. So he's went maximum damage output with his item build so far, and he's blocking the creeps. He has 2 shared tangos, pretty nice. So straight away he's a very similar block to last time, a similar ward spot to the legend player had as well. And you end up seeing that he checks the Pangalier's item straight away, and he knows that he has 2 tangos and a fairy fire. Now Pangolier has already used one of his shared tangos, and during this time he doesn't have any regen really left, only the fairy fire. He also has a bunch of creeps now. He's pretty much double waving the Pangolier and outputting a lot of harass. This is really taking advantage of the fact that the Pangolier has like pretty much like very little regen at this point. Having a quick look at the Pangolier, he has another 30 seconds until he can use his tango here, and Storm is even going under the tower trying to get in some more right clicks and even get in range just for a static remnant here. Now this harass keeps continuing on here, and even trying to deny Pangolier under his own tower. And Storm now has a salve, so this allows him to play aggressive and taking advantage of like having like just better regen. And he also like bought a mango here. This ends up like allowing him to continue outputting more harass, and really is like the sign that he's going to go for a kill with this build right now. And he is trying to play aggressive here. He gets like a haste rune. He's coming in here on to the Pangolier. Pangolier dodges his attacks here and forces him to use a salve to dive under the tower. Oh, Storm's going for the kill here, and he ends up getting the kill. Now in that scenario it might look bad, but he actually got like way more gold for the kill on Pangolier, and he gets more experience than the Pangolier gets. I don't think even Pangolier gets much experience at all. I think there is some like experience for like global range, but it ends up being that like Storm is now level 4 and Pangolier is level 3. This ends up being really big, and it's typically what you want to happen in your lane to a certain extent. Even though it was like a really risky and just about like advantage of a play there, it is like that bit of a difference that you really see between Legend and like say Immortal. So now Storm is pretty much like taking dominance in this lane, and Pangolier is like going into the jungle. Storm is like pushing the lane and getting high vision, the high ground. This ends up enabling stuff like Earthshaker to be able to come mid and have high kill potential because of the fact that Storm is ahead on levels, and Pangolier has to use like all of his health and mana on like creeps in the jungle. It's like really hard for Pangolier to get last hits right now, and even just there picks up like a second kill. So now Storm has hit level 6, and notice how he's like pretty much full mana. He has like a bottle that he can use right now, but he has like a huge amount of mana pool in comparison to what we saw the last Legend players were at. And level 6 versus level 4 means that he has even higher kill potential now in comparison to what he had before. And Pangolier is playing like really greedy there, going for the range creep like that, and ends up being that Storm actually like picks up a 3rd kill. So 3 kills in 5 minutes. That's like incredibly impressive, and it shows you this is the reason why people are Immortal ranked, let alone rank like 72. Now the Legend player that we ended up seeing was doing a lot of like jungling and stacking camps, and now even though his network was roughly around the same as what we saw last time, this Storm has really just taken over the lane and made it very hard for Pangolier to pretty much snowball into this game. So Storm is now going for his like first like play here. He's trying to jump onto the like Bane, but he's actually getting stunned here by the the Pangolier over and over, chain stun, and he nearly ends up dying here even to the like, oh, he jumps in here on Nature's Prophet. He ends up like having enough mana to escape now. He used stick. Is he going to like jump away here? And he's tried to jump. He was just into animation, and he had enough mana to escape there, but was a little bit too late to like actually jump to escape. So something pretty small, but it ends up giving like Pangolier a lot of golden experience to help him catch back up. And so having like a sentry ward even on the high ground up here near these jungle camps is quite important at this stage into the game. You have seen that here comes Nyx, and he's coming in. Oh, he nearly ended up dying there. Just dodged the Pangolier's stun, or his swashbuckle. He stunned Pangolier here just before the animation ends of his Rolling Thunder, and that ends up being like really good like crowd control as well, because timing of the crowd control, because when you're stunning someone in that really long animation that Pangolier has, that's time that he's not running away, he's not attacking anyone, so he has to end up casting that animation a second time in order to get away. So it ends up being again here he does this similar play that he tried to do on Nyx, where he like teleports into the lane and jumps on him. So these are like really nice kills that he's picking up regularly, and it's obviously like that he got a good laning start here as well. Now he's almost level 12 at this point, but he ends up playing like as if he's a level 12 Storm Spirit here right now. And he jumps in, he gets mana voided, but he has a regen rune, and if he was level 12 there, he probably would have been able to zip and like greedy like that. Nyx is a pretty good hero against Storm Spirit, but when you time the stun from Earthshaker at the same time that Storm jumps in, it ends up being very hard for Nyx to actually use Spike Carapace, and Earthshaker ends up throwing in a totem as well for the stun as well with his Aftershock passive, but that ends up being a play that like Storm on his own wouldn't have been able to get the kill very easily, but with Earthshaker combined, it ends up being like a really good combination like between the players. Now Storm's after jumping into 4 heroes here with the counter play there by the Chikiro. He picks up the bounty rune, the haste rune. He goes for the courier. He didn't kill the courier, but he probably should have. Instead he goes for the support kill, which gives like way less gold. Ends up getting orchided and silenced. So the orchid from Nature's Prophet is like just a new item that's come out, and he never saw that. So straight after seeing that orchid that he died from, he's after picking up an orchid. So Anti-Mage is going on him here now. He yules the Anti-Mage and he tries to stun him. He gets stunned himself and silenced by the Nature's Prophet, and it's ended up being his team is in a really good position to counterplay onto this. Now you end up seeing that Storm's position is really defensive here, because he's actually afraid of like Anti-Mage's mana void, and as a matter of fact right now the Anti-Mage doesn't have enough mana to use his mana void, but I don't know if Storm knows that right now, but either way he's like being able to keep fighting here. And a usage again, aggressive using the Yules here onto the Pangolier, ends up getting the kill. So really nice that, oh no. So they place down a sentry here, found Nyx. They end up like killing him with this combo or whatever. And Anti-Mage just tried to like mana void the storm there, but he managed to zip away just in time, right? So now Anti-Mage is still on the loom up where he could like pretty much jump on Storm at this point, and he doesn't have a Lincoln Sphere or anything. Here's Anti-Mage. So Anti-Mage has blinked somewhere, he's on the high ground, and he ends up can see him. So Storm's predicted ahead of time that Anti-Mage was going to blink down on top of him again, and zips away and forces Anti-Mage to blink into this like aggressive position. So this is like an amazing like counterplay onto the Anti-Mage, and he even plays aggressive enough of where he can place down a Remnant like this and get some damage extra out here onto Anti-Mage. And the mana void again just wasn't enough damage to kill the Storm, and that's like really nice balance of like understanding exactly how far you can take this hero against Anti-Mage. And Nature's Prophet teleports bomb. He can't see this happening, but Nature's Prophet comes in, and now he has a nullifier. If you look at items that like Storm has queued up, he was going to go a BKB next, but he ends up changing it to an Orchid. The idea is that like nullifier can actually stop him from using BKB. And now buybacks here for this fight. He ends up like getting a stun here on Nyx. Anti-Mage blinks in on like the Storm to try and get a kill here, but he ends up getting muted here again, and Anti-Mage comes in, gets the like big mana void onto Storm here, and that's like pretty bad for like Storm's game. But as you see that the enemy now like 4 heroes died, and the Nature's Prophet is itemizing particularly just to like shut down the Storm. This is what like you're pretty much talking about, making space for your teammates. So now all Storm's team have died like pretty much one by one. Not really much he could have done about it. So you end up seeing now what he ends up doing is zipping down the lane and killing all like the creeps. His Remnants killed all the creeps down along the lane, right? Now he ends up like going to other lanes and doing quite similar stuff, zipping back in and out because he has this level 25 talent, and he does this over and over again, pretty much to stall time. Riki doesn't have buyback now, he's just after dying again, and this is just pretty much this constantly stalled time. If Storm didn't do this, they would have just got thrown and end the game like literally straight down mid. But because he's doing this over and over again, you end up seeing that they only lost mid racks, and that was it. So over the past 5 minutes or so of this match, this is kind of a common occurrence of where Storm's teammates keep getting picked off, and there's not really much he can do about it. And it just keeps happening over and over again. You see this Anti-Mage is pretty much like getting way ahead on network in comparison to everyone else. And it's just pretty much like rinse and repeat of the same thing happening here. But really you end up seeing that this Storm did a lot of really impressive plays in the laning stage, and later on he actually did like a lot of good counter plays against that Anti-Mage as well. How like Anti-Mage was using his mana void, his positioning and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe.